Hello and welcome to the first of our Parents' Evening in the new academic year. I'm so pleased that you could join us. And as the parents and carers of the most important people in our college, namely our students, we're really delighted because we know that you play a really important part in helping them to achieve their success. So my colleagues here this evening will be able to give you a lot of information about the college and how that works. And also there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions. Before I hand over to my colleagues, there's just a few things I want to cover with you. The first is that the COVID rules, as we all know, have changed and a lot of the relaxations have happened, and we follow the government guidance with that. But we are requiring for all our staff and students to take 2 tests a week. The other thing is that we will have vaccination stations. We're hosting for the NHS some vaccination buses that will come to our 12 Keys campus next Tuesday and our Conway Park campus next Thursday. And we will be sending an email out to our students about that. And obviously, although the government has said that those over 16 do not require parental consent unless they have an educational health and care plan that requires that, we understand that in some cases our students may want parents with them, and we will certainly welcome that. That is being done by the NHS. And obviously we're encouraging good hand hygiene, and there's lots of information about the college to remind people that although restrictions have been lifted, it is important that we remain aware. The thing with that as well is that if people do feel more comfortable continuing to wear a mask, we will of course respect that, and we are continuing to provide masks for people should they wish to have them in the college and when they're moving around. But it isn't a requirement of the guidelines. That's just if people feel more comfortable with that. So what we have in store for you this evening is some information from my various colleagues about the programs of study, the support that's available. There are also some question and answers. We may not be able to answer all your questions here this evening, but we will do our best to provide those answers. You can pop information into the chat box. Please don't put any personal information in there because people can actually see that. If you've got a specific issue, then please contact us directly, and we're happy to help. So before I hand over to my colleagues, I do want to say that this is an information evening, but we are so grateful to the work that we do with parents and carers. And anytime you have a question or an issue, or your students have a question issue, please do contact us. That's what we're here for. We're here to help them be the best they can possibly be. So if you have any worries at any time, please don't hesitate to contact us. In the meantime, I'm now going to hand over to Chris Carter, our Vice Principal of Curriculum. Are you there, Chris?
I am. Thank you, Sue.
Okay, I'll hand over to you now to take the parents and carers through what the curriculum looks like and what they can expect.
Great, thanks very much. I'd like to also offer you all a very warm welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join our information event this evening. It's wonderful to see so many of you joining us. I'm going to take you through a few slides with the intention of sharing information around what happens next now that students are enrolled with us at the college. I'll explain how we will develop industry skills and prepare them for their future careers, as well as offer reassurance that we as a college are taking every measure to support students with their learning, whilst also being extremely mindful of the uncertainty we still face in the midst of this pandemic. Our utmost priority is to keep students safe. Next slide, please. So the step from school to college is a huge transition at the best of times. And understandably, students and you as parents will feel a little apprehensive, especially as the young people who are coming to college for the first time this year have spent a significant amount of time remote learning. So to go from majority online to fully black in the classroom will require a period of readjustment. It's essential for students' well-being that we take time to ease them into college life so they feel comfortable and confident in their environment. They make new friends and they understand how to achieve those aspirational career goals that they have. So by taking time to support them through these first few weeks, we can give students the best opportunities to thrive, supported by specialist teaching and support teams. So with that in mind, I'm going to take you briefly through the 4 aspects displayed on the slide, just so that you as parents are fully equipped with the information you need to support students as they start their exciting progression to employment. Next slide, please. So as you may be aware, students aged 16 to 18 will be enrolled on a study programme. But what is that exactly? And how does this support the career aspirations of students? Young people will say, I want to be an electrician, or I want to be a nurse or an engineer, etc. And this is their ultimate career aspiration. And to achieve this and be employable with the skills they need, it's about more than just that vocational part. So a study programme develops maths and English within the context of their career choice. Most job vacancies will now cite English and maths at a minimum grade 4 as an essential requirement to be shortlisted. As a college, we expect our 16 to 18-year-olds to continue developing their English and maths skills throughout their programme study. And tutors will also support personal development through milestone targets set through an individual learning plan, or ILP, as you may hear it. Also, through the choices and the decisions that young people make on this journey, so developing their self-motivation, perseverance, taking on board feedback to improve negotiation skills, for example. Tutors will also support development of employability skills, not only around the knowledge and skills required to do the job, but about developing skills of teamwork, confidence, resilience, communication, time management, problem solving, developing skills of being able to work under pressure. These are all the really essential life skills developed as part of the overall study programme that will give young people an edge when they're applying for employment opportunities when they do arise. Next slide, please. So we want students to fulfil their potential, and we will set high standards and expectations around attendance, appropriate attitudes and behaviours, and other really key employability skills that will give them an edge when they're ready to access those employment opportunities. If students attend their lessons 100% of the time, take part in all work experience and placement opportunities made available to them, it will develop their skills, not just for the job, as I said earlier, but also for their personal confidence and resilience. So they will achieve and be one step closer to fulfilling their ambitions. So either progress into further learning, onto the next level, apprenticeship, traineeship, university, or directly into employment. We'll support the students every single step of the way, and we'll do that starting right now. Next slide, please. So why is the induction period important? So we're 2 days into a new term now, we're in the induction period. The induction period is absolutely crucial for settling students into college. It enables them to meet their tutors, make new friends, get familiar with their learning environment, for example. It makes sure that students are fully equipped with all the support and resources they need. My colleague Philippa will discuss this later with you. We have a full and active student union with regular representative meetings and we encourage all students to be involved. We want to hear their voices and make the changes that will improve their experience in college. Also, to finalise timetables is really important. Some students may change their mind, might want to do a different course. Some GCSE grades may differ to what was expected at interview. So there could be some rebasing to ensure all students are on the level of course that is appropriate for them, and to make sure they're getting the best opportunities with the highest chance of success in the career that they choose. At Wirral Met, we will ensure that every young person who wants to come to college will be placed at the appropriate starting point for them and supported every single step of the way until they reach their goal. So induction is where those first conversations will be had with their tutor and those individual milestone targets set. Some students have been in touch with us and they've asked us what they should wear for college. So there's no school uniform as such. We expect our students to behave as young adults, and we therefore treat them as such. So in terms of a dress code, just smart casual clothes that would be appropriate for a work environment when coming to college. Now, there may be some specialist uniform depending on the area, but you will have been advised of that in previous communications from the different vocational areas. Next slide, please. So I mentioned an individual learning plan earlier, or an ILP. So as you can see on the screen, it's a structured process so that all students are clear on where they are now, so their actual individual starting point right now, how their progress is going to be reviewed as they move throughout their study programme, and the individual milestone targets set to get them to the next stage of their learning journey. You as parents will also be able to follow their progress throughout their time with us through our parents portal. And you can access this on our website by clicking on the parents button at the top of the home page. And again, Philippa will give you some more information on this later. Next slide, please. Work experience is an essential part of any study programme. Work experience and longer term placements differ between vocational areas and the skills requirements of industry, and they're planned throughout the year and included in their timetable. Students are informed of this as part of the induction programme within the first couple of weeks of term. Next slide, please. College has links with many employers who actively support young people because they are actively looking for employees that they can nurture and develop with the skills they require for their industry. Employers will inform college of apprenticeship vacancies and traineeship opportunities, and also approach college to signpost talented young people who will add value to their business, offering opportunities for work experience and longer term placements, which may then lead to a traineeship or an apprenticeship opportunity. Employers will also regularly visit, and they'll have a look at what skills are being developed. They will shape the content and delivery of curriculum so that the students are being equipped with the most up-to-date skills required within that particular industry. They'll deliver masterclasses and inform students of the skills required to work within their business. And they will also actively take part in our very successful industry weeks in term 2, as well as judge competitions and actively talent spot. You may know that Wirral is right in the centre of a huge regeneration project, and the college is actively working with the developers and the contractors to provide invaluable work experience and placement opportunities for our students. This experience will develop important skills for industry that will enable students to actively compete in World Skills UK. We are extremely proud as a college to have been awarded this status, as it means our specialist team of World Skills UK educators can support students to be not only skills competent, but skills excellent. Students will have the opportunity to compete nationally with other colleges to showcase skills to employers and take advantage of the opportunities as a result of this national stage. Next slide, please. As Sue mentioned earlier, safety first. And as with all schools and colleges in line with government guidelines, we have our students to complete the first of two on-campus lateral flow tests. So the first one was prior to starting college, which would have been last week, and the second in the first week of college. And we also provide home tests that can be done twice a week at home. As you probably know, these tests are designed to increase detection of people who have the virus but have no symptoms, known as asymptomatic cases, and thus preventing the spread of coronavirus. So you will also be aware that vaccinations will now be available to everyone over 16. And as Sue's mentioned, we've arranged with Public Health to provide pop-up vaccination stations at each of our campuses for the convenience of our staff and students who wish to be vaccinated. Next slide, please. So as part of our ongoing support for students, we encourage them to access any catch-up and support sessions that are provided for them to ensure that they are progressing well on their study programme. They can access this in a number of ways. For example, a tutor may identify a particular English and maths session that will improve knowledge and really help them with exam prep if they need to resit their GCSE. Or a practical session perhaps that we might have catch-up sessions in half-term holidays. Students will be encouraged to attend them to ensure they're developing their skills and really honing those practical elements for each area. Equally, students who are really keen to progress can put themselves forward and have that discussion with their personal tutor. Next slide, please. So finally from me, we haven't forgotten parents. So I just wanted to make you aware of our commitment to lifelong learning and how the college offers a range of free and flexible courses for you as adults. So there's a small selection on the slide above. If you follow the link, you'll be able to see the whole range of courses on offer. So some of the courses are only available for a limited time. So if you are thinking of some professional development as part of your current role, or you just want to try something completely new, please take advantage of this opportunity. And I'd just like to finish off by saying thank you for your time. Remember, please, to pop your questions into the chat box. And I'll now pass you over to Steve Bailey, who is our Executive Assistant Principal for Student Support and Foundation Learning. Are you there, Steve?
I am. Thanks very much, Chris. Good evening, everyone. As everyone else has said, but it is really great to see so many of our students' parents getting involved this evening. You know, obviously we're a college, not a school, but nevertheless we are always really keen to get to have our parents involved in everything we're doing for our students. So it's great to see so many of you attending this evening. So I just want to speak for a couple of minutes about some of the support that we have in place for our students at the college. First and foremost on that list really is our personal tutors. So every student has a personal tutor. This will be one of the teaching staff on their course, so somebody who teaches them for some of their course. And they have a really key role, really, that they'll work individually with each student, setting them individualized, very challenging targets for them to really stretch them and make sure they're doing that, they're achieving everything they're capable of on the course. And then they'll monitor the students' progress against those targets and their overall progress on the programme to make sure that they're on track. They'll also work with each student to plan their next steps. So look at what their aspirations are, as we mentioned before, look whether it's employment, whether it's progressing to university, whether it's going on to an apprenticeship, or looking at going on to the next level of programme in that vocational area. The personal tutor will work with the student and make sure again that they're on track throughout the year to move on to that next step, whatever it may be. For yourselves as parents, they are your key point of contact. If you've got any queries or any concerns, you want to speak to somebody about how your young person is getting on at college, then the personal tutor is the first person to speak to, really. And they will again also support all of their students with their learning throughout the year. But if a young person needs further support, then what the personal tutor will also do is refer them on to the relevant one of our various other services. So the first one of those I want to speak to you about is our pastoral support mentors. So our mentors are there to work individually with any students who have got any kind of worries or concerns, anything that might be going on for them that might be getting in the way of their college life, that they need some support with. So if they're having some personal problems, they're worried about something, maybe they're facing some financial difficulties, there might be a childcare issue. Some of our students are parents themselves and they might need some support in that respect. If they need just some support with regard to their study skills or their time management, maybe they're struggling to get to college on time or to attend all their sessions and they need some guidance and support with that, then again, the pastoral support mentors are there to help them with any of those possible issues. And they form part of our wider safeguarding team. So if any students have any safeguarding issues or concerns, maybe a student is looked after or is a care leaver, then again, the mentors as part of the safeguarding team will be working with those students individually to make sure that we're doing everything we need to do for them. We then have our additional learning support team. So this is a really big team within the college, supporting well over 900 students a year in various different ways. Any student who has a particular difficulty, a learning difficulty or a disability, a health condition, a mental health difficulty, a physical health difficulty, any student with any kind of barrier like that will be supported by our additional learning support team. So they'll meet each of those students individually. They carry out an individualised assessment with that student. And a very large number of those are already done and they get done over many months before students actually arrive with us, but we'll continue doing that now as students make themselves known to us. So we carry out those individualised assessments and put together a support plan for each student. That support plan then follows the student, so no matter who's teaching that student, they know what that student's needs are and what they need to do for them. If a student has an education, health and care plan, then the additional learning support team will be driving that to make sure, again, that everybody in the college who works with that student understands what the requirements are for that plan. They'll also provide further support to students. So, for example, if a student needs individualised one-to-one tuition, maybe support with their dyslexia or something like that, then again, that team will support that. And if a student needs additional support within the classroom itself, so some students will have a member of the learning support team sitting with them for some or all of their lessons, or maybe working with them and a number of other students in the classroom, offering that support during the lesson time. That's again, that comes through the ALS team. We'll also provide technology for students. So some students need some especially software perhaps to help them with, again, it could be their learning needs, their dyslexia, it could be a visual impairment or something like that. If they need any kind of equipment, then again, the additional learning support team can put that in place for them. And then we have our mental health and wellbeing team. So lots of our students need some support at some point or another with their mental health or their well-being, and obviously the last 2 years in particular have been really challenging for lots of our students with the isolation that they faced and so on, and they may now be feeling anxious about coming back into a busy learning environment. We have our mental health and wellbeing team there to support students. So students facing major life changes or just experiencing real stress or anxiety, or maybe they've got a diagnosed mental health condition, then again, that team are there to support them with that, to help them to develop strategies to support their own wellbeing and build that kind of resilience. We also have within that team a fully confidential counselling service. So we have qualified counsellors as part of the college. And a new service that we're just introducing this term is our Talk Campus app, which is it's online peer-to-peer mental health support for students. Any student can sign up to that app and take part on there. So there's lots of guidance on there for students, and students are able to support one another. It's something that runs in colleges and universities, not just across the country, but actually in various countries around the world. It's moderated and monitored by qualified mental health practitioners who can also pick up on any issues and refer students onto the relevant support services. And it's really vital, as it says on the slide there, that we find out about student support needs, whatever those needs might be, as quickly as possible. So as I say, we've been carrying out support assessments with students for several months since students have applied, but it's never too late. So if your young person has got support needs and we're not already aware of that and we're not already supporting them, then do please get in touch with us and we can get that assessment done. The sooner we can get support in place for the young people, the better for their chances and opportunities at college. I think that's all I need to speak to you about now. Hopefully you can see that Wirral Met is genuinely a really supportive place for students to come and study, no matter what their needs may be. We're a really inclusive environment. So I'll hand you over now to Philippa, who's going to tell you about some further services and guidance that's available for students. Philippa, over to you.
All right. Hi, Steve. It's amazing to see so many of you have come this evening. I'm Philippa Dickinson, I'm Director of Student Services. As my colleagues have said, please do keep adding any questions to the chat box as you think of them, and we'll pick them up at the end. The main thing I want to talk about is we recognise that parents and carers will want to keep informed about the progress, attendance and any support their children or wards are accessing. You can just go on to the next slide for me, please. This can be done through our Pro Portal system, and this allows you to see how your young people are getting on with their studies. It's really easy to sign up once students have completed enrolment. You just need their reference number and also their name. You can do that from the parents area on the website. And we can also use Pro Portal as a mechanism for keeping you up to date with changes and updates. We ask our students aged 16 to 18 to provide us the contact email address and phone number for 2 family members or carers. And we do that so we can keep in touch with you about events like the one this evening, and celebrations, and also any areas of concern when they study with us, and also in the unlikely event that we need to contact you in the event of an emergency. We do have financial support in place to remove potential barriers to learning, and this support is dependent on financial circumstances, but students may also receive support with travel, meals and equipment, or they can loan a college laptop if they need to support their homework or their individual study. Now we're working back in college for most of the time. We try to make it as easy as possible for people to access that support. We have had, over the last couple of weeks, had a station set up down at 12 Keys where people can come in and sort out bursary requests. And I do recommend that even if you think that you're not going to be entitled to anything, do still fill in the form we've sent you. It's definitely worth it, and most people will get some level of support. And as Chris mentioned, the study programmes include work. It is the next slide, thanks, India. As Chris mentioned, our study programmes include work experience and placement, and this forms an absolutely massive part of our careers education strategy. And in the college, our main, if you like, our main aspiration for our students is that they leave us and they either go on to the next stage of their education or move into a job. So it's embedded into all the vocational courses our students study. As well as work placements, which Chris talked about, we have very, very strong links with employers, self-employed professionals, the Chamber of Commerce and universities who all give their time to come and support our students fulfil those aspirations. And this included even during lockdown. We had an industry event where we had over 60 local employers come to that, and with all of the subjects that we do, talk to students and give them the benefit of their expertise. So throughout the year, we'll have a focus on different aspects of careers and employability. So for an example, in term 1, we'll hold group and one-to-one sessions with our students to support UCAS applications if that's the route they want to go down. We're also introducing a programme called Unifrog. It's an app, and parents can access that along with students and staff to look at universities, apprenticeships, and get valuable information about their options. And each student builds up a kind of portfolio about the things they've looked at and things they're interested in. They can favourite different unis, different apprentices, that kind of thing. That's no replacement for face-to-face, but it does give you an enormous wealth of information, especially after the last 18 months we've had. I think we all need to see people face-to-face. So we also have a well-qualified team of student advisors within the college, and their role is to support students with group and individual careers advice and guidance. The most important thing at this time of year, now we're just starting, is that students are on the right course for them, and we'll make every effort to facilitate a move if somebody has any doubts that that the course is the right one for them. We'll have a chat with them. Nobody will try and persuade them to stay on the course they're on or to move on to another course. It will be very much about guiding the students to make their own decision at that point. And if young people think at any point they've left it too late to change or to come to us about doing a course they haven't, do please come and see us. And if you can just go on to the next slide, please, India. Just to give you a little bit of an example of some of the careers information that's available. We have information available to, obviously, to students and parents on our website. It gives you details of the sort of jobs that they might want to go into, what the possible earnings might be, and also it gives you an idea of whether those professions are in decline or in growth. Student services are available on each site. As Sue mentioned, we're undergoing refurbishment at the moment, which is very nearly finished and has made our settings so much more accessible. So please come in and see us, come and have a chat with student services yourself, or ask the students to come and see us. We're here for any information they need, and that's throughout their time with us, not just at this busy time of year. They can contact us by email, through website or on live chat. They can ring us. We're available for sort of contact pretty much every way you can think of. And we also have reception on each site, which means that students will get used to particular people on the site that they can contact, and there'll be a point of contact for them throughout their time with us. And just to reiterate, that support isn't just at this time of year, it's right the way through. I think that's me, isn't it, India? So before we answer some of your questions from the chat, it's really useful for us as a college when we're planning these events, if we can get some feedback from yourselves. So I think India's about to pop up a poll. There you go. So there's 3 questions. If you can just quickly click on those, and then once you've had an opportunity to do that, we'll just give you a little bit of time to do that. We'll move on to Phil Jones, who's our Vice Principal, who's going to go through some of the questions that you posted in the chat. So I'll just give you a couple of moments to complete that, and that's really useful for us to see what's worked for you and what hasn't.
Thank you, Philippa. My name is Phil Jones. I'm Vice Principal for Quality at the college. Fantastic to see so many questions, actually. So starting off with one, actually, a lot of these questions have been coming through as we've been going through the presentation. So some of them will have been answered, but we'll go through them again. One for Sue, really, for the beginning. Will my daughter require to be vaccinated whilst at college? Can you help with that one, Sue?
Certainly can. And just start my video so you can actually see me. Thank you. Yes. Well, first of all, vaccination is a personal choice. There is no mandate for people to be vaccinated, and this is not a condition of coming to college. However, we are aware of the science behind the protection that vaccination affords, and you will of course seen that yourselves from the coverage. So we're working closely with the NHS, and if our students would like to take advantage of the NHS vaccination buses that are coming next week, then we'd be delighted with that. There are other vaccination stations across Wirral, so you can also, if that's not convenient, they can also go there. So it is not a requirement to be vaccinated to come to the college, but it is something that we are working with the NHS to be very positive and proactive about. There is, however, something within the college where we have later in the year, we'll have overseas travel. And as a risk assessment that we have carried out for ourselves for the college, if your young people wish to, or any students wish to go overseas as part of a college trip, that will be mandatory, and we will not allow them to travel on a college trip overseas unless they have had 2 vaccinations and the period of time after the second vaccination that affords the best protection. So I hope that answers that question.
Thank you, Sue. One for Chris here. Level 2 electrical installation, which I know has been very popular this year. When are they going to receive their timetable?
So at the moment, we're in the induction period, so we're second day in, so they'll be receiving their final timetables this week. As Phil said, there's a lot of electrical installation students, so I think they're just sorting out the groups to make sure everyone's in the right place, just to make sure it's the best for them. So they'll get it this week.
Fantastic, thank you. One for Philippa. There's quite a few on the bursary forms actually, but this one's around, can parents put their bank details on if the student doesn't have their own bank account? No,
we do ask for students to use their own bank accounts. It's part of the rules on the bursary form to state that. What we would do is encourage people to open their own bank accounts. Obviously, as if we want to give the young people as much independence as we can do. If there isn't, if there's a significant issue why we can't do that, then we would make in-kind provisions. So, for example, providing bus passes or meal cards rather than making payments. But most of our students will be getting support with kit, etc. This year rather than payments anyway.
And while we're on that, there's a question around bus passes as well, or travel passes. They've not received any information. As far as I'm aware, the students have received that information, haven't they, around bus passes and travel passes?
Well, the students were all invited into pre-induction. All of the students have also been sent bursary funds, unless they've enrolled particularly late, in which case they may have missed out. They've just come in the last couple of days and enrolled. They may not have had those. However, we have got as I say, we're down at 12 keys, and we have a room with 4 members of staff in, and all they're doing is dealing with bursaries and inquiries, so do feel free to go down to there.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm sure we'll be back around some more questions around bursaries. Yeah, brilliant, thank you. One for Chris, or possibly Steve as well here. So if your child feels the course they've enrolled in is not for them, is there opportunities to change their course? So Chris, you're on mute there, sorry.
Apologies. Yes, as I mentioned earlier on in the presentation, we're currently in the induction period, and we know that this does sometimes happen where young people come into college and it's not quite what they thought and they want to try something else, and that's the great thing about the induction period, because we can sort all this out within the first couple of weeks to make sure that they're settled and ready for their learning. So yes, that's fine. Just need to contact the tutor.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, another question. We've got a parent whose daughters changed their course today onto a different course, asking if we can put on the course with their friends. Now, if they're on the same level, I think that's a definite yes, and we can sort that out. I'll work with Chris, and we'll contact the department tomorrow just to make sure that happens. So for the parents to ask that question, just to reassure, we'll make sure that happens for you. And on the back of that, the same parents asking around the bursary form, and they need, so Philippa again, sorry, I need proof of the benefits, but don't have a printer. So they're asking, can they come to college?
I'm actually, as we speak, I'm just typing into the chat the email address for student financial support. So you can either bring it into us, as I say, at 12 Keys, or you can, if you've got a photo, a screenshot or something, you can email it to us at studentfinancialsupport@wmc.ac.uk, which I'm just putting in the chat. But if you could also, if you do that, if you can make sure that you include the student's name and preferably reference number or date of birth, so we can marry up basically the evidence with the student, because that's sometimes otherwise we get evidence come in and we don't know who it belongs to. So do please include the student's details in that email as well.
Brilliant, thank you. As a question as well from a parent, I don't actually know the answer to this one, which is this is a good question. So Pro Portal, how quickly does it take to be authorised? Now, I'm assuming it'll be authorised by the end of this week, once the enrolment's gone through and banked. But we'll definitely have to. I'll just check on that to make sure. But as far as I'm aware, once it gets authorised and the students attended, I think it's more than 2 days. Then we authorise the account. But we'll get back to that parent on that question. But that's a good one. It's the first one we've had on that. Okay. A question for Steve. So how do I ensure my son gets additional learning support?
Yeah, just please do just contact the additional learning support department. So I'll put their email address in the chat. And yeah, if you just email them directly, they'll get in touch and arrange an assessment for him.
Yeah. There's one, somebody's forgot to pick up the laptop on Tuesday. Can they come back and pick it up on Monday? Certainly. Yeah, absolutely. Come back to, if they go to reception, just let the reception know where they're going up to the library and we can sort that out for them. That's not a problem at all. Okay. So it's interesting. So if my son isn't in college all week as he didn't need to resit his GCSEs, is this still classed as full-time education? So Sue?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, this is college, it's not school. So what we have is a programme, because this also answers some of the other questions about English and maths, a study programme that they will have time when they're in college with face-to-face, and we're all absolutely delighted that we're back to face-to-face. But they won't be in from Monday to Friday as they were in school. They will do a full programme of study that will include whatever their vocational choices, whether they're into health and social care, if they want to follow a nursing path or engineering or construction. But what they will also do is they will also study English and Maths GCSE until they get at least a grade 4. So it's not just, I know that they'll be very excited about the plumbing bit or the hairdressing bit or whatever, but it is much more than that. So they'll be studying English and Maths. Even if they've got their GCSEs, we will continue to develop their English and Maths, because the employers that we work with say that the application of communications and English and Maths is one of the most important things they look for. And when they come to this college, we're trying to equip them to get a job and to get into the career of their choice. So the question then that's just been asked is, well, is it still full time? Yes, because they're young adults at college. And why we provide laptops and why we encourage self-directed study as well is because they need to be able to, just as they did in school, homework, they need to be able to develop those skills. That's what their personal tutor will be there to support, and any support needs they have. The other thing is that they would probably have at least 2 days where they're not timetabled into college, because many of our students also like to work alongside the study that they're doing. So the answer to your question is yes, it is a full program of study. Yes, it will include English and Maths. And yes, we will require them to work really hard when they're not in college by giving them those study skills. With students that like some additional help with that, not everyone is completely comfortable or disciplined enough at the start to do that self-directed study. We do have study zones at the college, and the study zones are staffed. So when they're not in a timetabled session, they can come into a study zone and get support with that at any time. So our job is to help equip them with the skills they need to move into the career of their choice, whether that's via university or directly through apprenticeships at the end of their programme. And we will work with them and help them to develop those skills. So I hope that answers your question, but this is not school, this is college. That doesn't mean they won't be doing English and maths. And I would ask and play with parents to make sure that when you're asking them about their progress and when you're having those conversations, as we do as parents, that you also ask them about how they're getting on in their English and their maths as well, because that's just as important, and it's certainly what employers are looking for. Hopefully that's answered your question. Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Sue. Another question, there seems to be a lot of online work. Is this just because of COVID, or will it reduce? And doesn't work well for many children? No, it doesn't. So face-to-face is important. So I can answer this one. The majority of courses now should be face-to-face. There will be some online learning, because what we don't want is the young people to lose that skill, because now it's a skill required by quite a lot of employers to be able to learn and to access, especially for interviews and things like that. And a lot of work-related jobs now are to do with working online. So that's a skill that we would like to keep going, so the students improve on that. But there shouldn't be too much, and the practical elements of those qualifications will require practical learning and face-to-face learning. So if there is a problem, please contact us if you feel there's too much, and we can maybe explain. Another question: can my son leave his bike safe while at college? Certainly. Yeah, we have our own bike sheds, and our security staff open and close them for the students to ensure that they're safe. So definitely. Okay, my son is coming back as a second-year student and hasn't really had the college experience. Will he be having a full induction as well as the first years? Definitely. We're in the induction now, so everyone should be having full inductions as they would whether they're first or second year students anyway. So we'd expect that all students have that same experience coming back. It's going to be new for a lot of people as well, and just to show off our fantastic facilities as well. Okay, will the vaccination buses be at Waterfront? Oh, so it's the Wirral Waters College as well as Conway and 12 Keys. Sue?
Okay, so these are provided by the NHS, so it's important that you know that this isn't something the college is doing, it's something the college is facilitating through the NHS. And the NHS have been very kind enough to say that they will give us those 2 days so far of the bus dedicated for our students. So the first is Tuesday. That will actually be based at 12 Keys on Tuesday, but what we will be doing is making sure that the Wirral Waters students are able to access that. So it will be based at 12 Keys, and it's on part of our 12 Keys car park that makes it also close to Wirral Waters. And they will be welcome to come along, and we'll make sure the students who are in on that day know where the bus is, and we can direct them there. Students that might not be in on that day can also come along if they wish. If they're a student of the college, they will not have to have an appointment, and they can access that vaccination. On Thursday next week, the 9th, we will have the bus opposite our Conway Park campus, and that will be to cover the students who are at Conway Park and also at our brand new Hamilton building in Hamilton Square. We will have another facility at the Oval for our students who are at the Oval, but the Oval will have their own vaccination station up there, and will make that space available to us. So this is very much an NHS initiative. All we're doing is simply, we asked if they would make it more accessible for people. We know how busy they are. And like I say, although students, unless they have a specific requirement in an educational health and care plan, do not need parental consent, the NHS take them through that. We understand that sometimes with these things, students like to have the parents with them, and we would be very happy, and so would the NHS, to accommodate that if that's something that you or your son, daughter would like. So hopefully the key is that we get as many people who want to be vaccinated, and that makes it safer for everybody.
Thank you, Sue. One for Philippa. When will students receive their bus passes?
Sorry, I was muted. We are hoping that they will get them next week. If they've applied for them up until this week, we'll be in over the weekend to try and get them ready for them next week. If the applications come in later, we don't receive all of the evidence by close of play tomorrow. It will be when we receive that. I should imagine we have a huge number of requests. But yeah, we'll be in over the weekend trying to get those finished off for the ones that we've had them in for.
Wonderful, thank you. One from a concerned parent whose son's starting from another college and is finding it difficult to make new friends. Hopefully the induction process will support that. So the students are mixed together. They do different tasks together with different groups. So hopefully that will support. And we do encourage that. We've got a fantastic student union as well that takes students away, encourages them to meet each other. They have virtual coffee mornings, they have actual face-to-face coffee mornings. So there's a lot going on at the time. So hopefully your son will feel at home at Wirral Met like the majority of students do.
If I can just add to that as well.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, if I can just add to that as well. If your son has additional needs that might be making it difficult for him to make friends with other people, again, please contact the Learning Support Department, because that is something that we support lots of students with.
Can I just say as well, because I see there's questions coming through about, can we borrow a laptop? How do we access this? When we talk about the bursary, just so that you know, we understand that everyone's got their own personal circumstances. Some have got access to this equipment at home, some people haven't. Don't just think that bursary or funding that we have available is only available if they previously were entitled to free school meals. Because what we have is criteria that is set by the government. It's not something that the college does, but it looks at how we can make sure that our students are equipped with what they need to get to college and to study safely. So Philippa has popped in the chat box the bursary form. If you complete that, the team will make sure that everything that they're entitled to get is available to them. You do have to provide some evidence, because we can't do that, access that funding for them without that. But trust me, it is so worthwhile to spend a little bit of time making sure that's completed and returned, and then they will get access to all that. No one's mentioned free meals, but we do, for our 16 to 18s, provide access to a free meal at college as well. And that is also part of what we do with the bursary, where they qualify to do that. So our job is to try and get you as much as we possibly can to help them study. All we need you to do is make sure that documents filled in and that we have the evidence, not just because we're ticking boxes, but because we can only access that funding on behalf of your son and daughter if we have that evidence and we're able to access that for the government. So if you provide that for us, we will work with you to get absolutely everything they're entitled to. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a couple of questions on GCSEs as well. What happens if my son hasn't passed his maths GCSE? Does he have to inform the college? Well, we would like to inform, but obviously we ask for pre and qualifications anyway on the enrolment form. If that's not filled in, then as part of the study program that Sue mentioned earlier, there's a condition of funding for us, but also a requirement for young people to carry on taking maths GCSEs or English GCSEs if they haven't got the 4 required. So 3, 2, 1 and no grade, we're going to have to do GCSEs again, but that will also support employment. So another one, a son's saying that he has a grade 3 for maths but doesn't have to doesn't do maths or doesn't need to do maths. Well, your son will have to do maths, so we'll check on that to make sure. But yeah, we do get a list as well from around a couple of weeks time from schools, so we'll get the full results list of students for what their GCSE grades were. So we will pick them up eventually, but we will encourage them to start off, because English and maths is really important, especially for employment issues or requirements. Employers look to that as the first port of call, and quite a few universities as well are going to need that to get in. So we encourage you to just check if your son or daughter does have a 3 or below. Just make sure their timetable does show English and maths. If it doesn't, if you contact us, then we'll just make sure that that's happening. But yeah, unfortunately, those students, we know they don't like it sometimes, but it's important that we all promote that to make sure that students get the best possible opportunities available to them. Okay, so there's quite a few about English and maths. Laptops we've covered. More English and maths. Okay, there's a question around the child who's resistant being swabbed in the throat. What happens to students who refuse our COVID tests?
Okay, well, first of all, it's personal choice, and we have been asked by the government to do 2 tests for young people when they first come back, and following that to ask everybody to do it at home with we normally say on a Sunday before anyone comes into work on a Monday, just in case. Now, the reason we're doing that, and we are really positive about that, is because up to 1 in 3 people, and particularly young people, can have the virus and be completely asymptomatic. And so they will be going around spreading the virus without even knowing. And so it is personal choice at the end of the day, but we are strongly recommending and asking that staff and students do that in order to keep the college as safe as possible. In terms of, as another question that's been raised, if someone doesn't want to have the vaccine, well, that again is personal choice. We would not know who has had the vaccine or who hasn't had the vaccine. That is between the individual and the NHS. What we are simply doing is facilitating the access for those who wish to take up the vaccine to be able to do so. So, you know, it is about personal choice, and we fully respect that.
Thank you. There's one about someone's appealing their grade from in school, and it should be a high grade. Will it affect their level at college? It might well do. If that comes back as a grade 4 and it's remarked, then it may well support the moving up a grade. But generally, the first few weeks, students are going through induction, so it shouldn't affect them too much. But please let us know as soon as you get that, so that result comes through. So if it does come back as a 4, then please let us know, and we can adjust that course possibly where it needs to be. But definitely let us know. If they're past English and maths and it's on their timetable, they don't need to attend those English and maths sessions, but there will be extra sessions put on, support sessions. Students are asked to attend study zones as well. So they'll be given extra work where they can carry on that as well. So it doesn't need to mean they need to go home. We've got lots of facilities in college for students to carry on with their studies, whilst other students are catching up on their English and maths. Okay, so more about tests, English and maths. Okay, face masks. Are face masks not needed to be worn in college now?
Okay, so in accordance with the government guidelines, face masks are not required anywhere. But it is recommended that we use them on public transport. So we are following government guidelines, but we also know that some people feel more comfortable wearing a mask, particularly when they're moving around college. We respect that. We also provide masks and stations where masks can be picked up free by the students that do that. And some students are wearing masks when they're moving around college because they feel more comfortable. And in fact, some staff are as well. So whilst we cannot make or mandate that people do that because we're following the guidelines that affects the rest of England, what we do is respect where people choose to, particularly if they've had any advice or they just feel more comfortable. And the other thing I should say as well about that is, because I've seen some notes to say that sons and daughters have not got any learning needs or learning disabilities, but they're actually quite shy and they're feeling, you know, it's quite a big step. Kind of just reassure them and you that that is a big step for all our students. And if they feel uncomfortable about that, that's why they all have a personal tutor. So if they just mention to their personal tutor, or you with them mention to their personal tutor that this is a bit of an issue to start with, we'll be aware of that and we'll do absolutely everything we can to try and help them be settled. It is such a big step for those who are joining us from school and for those who are returning. And we all understand that the last 18 months with the impact of COVID has been a pretty horrendous time for everybody. We understand that. We understand that not just as people who are working in a college with students, but as parents, grandparents, and carers ourselves. And we'll do absolutely everything we can to help them adjust. If there's a question that they or you have, you don't have to wait for a parents' event to do that. Please get in touch with us. The important thing is, as soon as we know there's a problem, we can start doing something to fix it. And that's what our role here is, to make their experience of college enjoyable and to help them get over the scary time when you come into a new college, let alone after a COVID pandemic. So we understand that, and we're here to support them and to help them. So do let us know and ask them to quietly tell their tutor, and we'll put everything in place we can to make it better for them.
Thanks, Sue. I know we're getting close to time. There's just a couple here. So our induction is taking place just this week or next week too. There are some taking place next week as well. But induction tends to be the first couple of weeks in college, whilst new students come on board as well. But it gives the students a great experience to let them know about the college, what we do, and what they can access. Various bits and pieces there. Others are asking about personal tutors. The personal tutor will be identified to the students. It's usually their tutor they have the most within that group. And as I say, the next couple of days, the students will then know who their personal tutors are. We do have set tutorial sessions within college, so that's where the students will then sit and as Chris mentioned earlier around the ILPs, the individual learning plans, they'll sit down with their tutors. They will review their targets against their knowledge, skills, and behaviours, against the vocational requirements, wherever subject that they're on. Those will be agreed, written down, and they'll be reviewed constantly. And that personal tutor, especially anyone to be honest, but personal tutors to one, generally the students will form that professional relationship with and be able to talk about whatever they need to get the best experience within college. One for STE, well, two for STE actually. First of all, does the college have social activities for students, and do we support, which we definitely do, the LGBTQ agenda? And yes, I'm sure Steve will be able to go into a bit more depth there.
Absolutely, yeah, we certainly do. As I said before, we genuinely are and pride ourselves in being a fully inclusive college that supports everybody. And so with regards to that specific question, so in June of this year, it was Pride Month. We had lots of activities and events going on, celebrating Pride, and we have things like that going on throughout the year. And really to promote that and embed it within the culture of the college as a whole. So lots of stuff is embedded into the curriculum as well. Again, to support and celebrate the diverse community that we're all living in. So yeah, absolutely. And with regard to social events, and actually quite connected, the student union run a lot of those kinds of celebrations and activities, and they are often social events that students can get involved in. But as to the specifics of what social events we do, that's very much driven by our students. So it will vary from one year to the next. So our student union will talk to their members about what kind of activities they want us to put on. So, for example, last year, for the first time, we started running and taking part in an esports league. So students who were really keen on gaming were able to participate in that, and that's something that I'm sure we're going to be rolling out again this year on a bigger scale, because it was really successful. But so yeah, absolutely, and very much driven by our student union.
Thank you, Steve. I think we probably need to draw this to a close now, as we've gone past our allotted time. But what we will say is that all the questions we'll get back. If we haven't answered any, we've missed some, we will get back to those parents who've asked those questions. There will be a copy of the questions and the answers sent out, is that correct, to all participants of this? as well as the recording in case you've missed something and you want to go back to it. So just hand you over to Sue for closure.
Okay, well, thank you again for your time. It's so fantastic to see the parents of our VIPs, our students. And please, as I said before, this is a partnership really between us and you to help your sons, daughters, and the people you care for be the best that they can be. So if there are any issues at any time, get in touch. We'll do our very best to address them. And as Phil said, the frequently asked questions we'll post alongside with a recording of this. And we look forward to supporting them in whatever career choice they've made. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you in person at some time in the not too distant future as we reopen some of the face-to-face events for parents. Thank you very much.